Morning, Grant. Afternoon, Grant.
G'day, John.
Yeah. Oh, do I call you sir? Everyone's just called you sir coming out of the office.
Grant's
okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you for making some time to come out in the car with us for a bit of a conversation. As I'm getting ourselves ready and reversing out and hopefully not making any illegal moves with the police commissioner in the car, fingers crossed, got a challenge for you. Cabra's favourites are 11. I want you to look at them and rank them in your order of preference for me.
Okay.
I'm guessing you're a choc. You have a soft tooth, sweet tooth somewhere. And you can thank Daniel Menzel for this challenge. This is the sort of challenge he sets us when we go out on the men's meals drives in the country.
So are we talking about worst to best or best to worst?
Yeah, start with your worst, go up to your best. Okay,
well, probably go Dairy Milk Caramel.
Ooh,
number 11.
Contentious.
Old Gold, number 10.
Yeah, can agree on that.
Oh, I'm going again. I just found this one. Number 11 is Turkish Delight.
Oh, right.
Caramel is number 10.
10.
Old Gold.
Then Old Gold. Yep.
It's number 9. Boost.
Yep.
8. Moro. 7.
Sitting in the middle of Moro.
Oh, geez, that's where I'm supposed to go in. 12. 6. Dream. 5.
Ooh.
Picnic 4. Dairy Milk 3. Crunchy 2. Cherry Ripe 1.
Cherry Ripe at the top.
Absolutely.
Whoa. So
controversy.
I put Cherry Ripe quite close to the top for mine as well, but most of the population aren't the cherry coconut fans. I don't believe so.
They need to have a good hard look at themselves.
They do, yeah. I must admit, I'm a Bounty fan, so that's why. Now, this is going to be probably the most nerve-wracking drive I'm going to do, because I'm not going to be able to break any rule, regulations, speed limits, or not that I do anyway, Grant, obviously.
I'll be the judge of that, but I'll be watching closely.
You'll be watching very closely. Thanks so much, Aaron, for coming out today. One of the aims of having the car conversations came from a concept that Solitaire came up with themselves. They've often heard me talk in different speaking slots, and I always talk around one of the best places for a conversation is in your car, because you're sort of locked in, you're looking out, it's non-threatening. So they very generously have supported us with the provision of the car for 3 weeks in the build-up to the men's meals and mental health event. So we're getting to meet some incredible people that support Breakthrough, and this week I'm going to be also interviewing a range of researchers that we've been able to support as well. So
that's good. Excellent.
Good way to get those conversations going. So Grant, tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Most people know you as the face of COVID.
yeah.
But obviously there's a lot more to you. That's a cross you carry. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, I'm Commissioner of Police, and I've been a part of the South Australia Police now for 42 years. And I've enjoyed almost every position that I've held in the organisation, and I've had a diversity of different roles. Frontline patrols, criminal investigations, specialist crime squads, pedophile task force, and then into the executive roles. Spent some time as the Director of Human Resources. Not a job I was thrilled to be told I was going into, but one I actually really embraced. But I have to say the most rewarding time in my career has been serving as the Commissioner, having the ability to hopefully provide a positive influence and provide that strategic focus for the organisation and make sure we deliver the outcomes people want from us. So that's something I've really taken great pride in. I feel very privileged to have had this role, and I've been doing that now for 9 years.
9 years. How long is a term for a commissioner? Is it extended every period of time? Is it,
depending on the government of the day, dictates how long the contract terms are. So my first contract was 5 years, second was 3, and I'm now on a 5-year contract.
5-year contract. That's brilliant. And so Grant, most people then got to know your face during COVID. That was a challenging and testing time for a lot of people. But the way in which you dealt with it, with the way in which you gave clear, accurate information, I think most people logged in to listen to what statements you're going to make to the press and how you're going to manage the press, and the way in which you did that, which was really engaging. What were some of the challenges you faced during that period of time?
Standing up for over an hour every press conference, waiting for the Premier and Nicola Spurrier to finish speaking before I went last. No, the challenges are really knowing the impact of the decisions that we were making and the restrictions that we were placing on the community, restrictions that affected every single South Australian and even people outside of our jurisdiction who needed to travel to South Australia either for work or family reasons. Small businesses that couldn't operate or trade, people who were struggling to pay their mortgage because their work dried up as casual workers, the confinement and quarantining processes that impacted on people's well-being. I heard lots of stories about people who really struggled through that time, and I often describe the decisions we had to make as some of the easiest decisions based on the advice we were given, but also the hardest when you had an awareness of the consequences. But no one was immune, and my family were significantly impacted by the decisions I was making. And
you had a wedding in the middle.
Well, it was cancelled 3 times. But we managed to get it up and running. Lots of things, funerals, so many very personal family events. Not just my family, but everyone's family. It's really tough.
I think that was where a lot of people all fell in love with you and what you were doing there, because you actually made it very, very personal. You shared that this was an impact for everybody, and you didn't take that lightly. So I think that was incredible during that time. How did you manage your well-being during that period of time? Because it was full on, wasn't it?
It was, and I wouldn't say I'm overwhelmed, but when I think back about the level of intensity and the frequency and just relentlessness of it was I didn't recall it as being difficult at the time, but when I look back, it was there was not a lot of sort of clear air. And it's a bit like boiling a frog. You don't realise you're up to your neck until you're there. The load gradually builds. But the true credit for getting through that, as far as I'm concerned, goes to, well, firstly, my wife Emma, and our kids were incredibly tolerant, and she was so flexible. It was amazing. Everyone acknowledges what I've done, but you don't do these things on your own. But from a professional point of view, my deputy Linda Williams was fantastic, and I had some key people, part of my executive and other senior officers, who they were there with me the entire time. This wasn't me in isolation. I had really good people supporting me and providing advice, and it was a team effort. I just happened to be the ultimate decision maker in the face of it.
You mentioned then Emma as being that incredible support, and I've met Emma on a number of occasions, and she is a beautiful, beautiful lady. How did she manage her sort of life during that period of time when she knew that everything was sort of on the back burner?
Well, everything was on the back burner for everyone, so it's not like a lot of our social events were being cancelled because of my work commitments. It just became the new norm. I was working from home. I was either at work or I was working from home by and large. So she just got on with things. She's a pretty tough person, and she just rolls with the punches. So it was, great asset to me. Great support.
Now you mentioned then in some of your previous roles then that you took on a responsibility of human resources within sort of SAPOL. We're chatting about mental health. You must have seen an alteration and a change of that mental health narrative during your 40-year career. 42-year career.
Well, I'll reflect on how things were when I was on patrol, and some of the events and incidents that you're involved in, and the negligible level of support or even interest shown in how you might be travelling after some of these traumatic events, through to where we are today, where we've got such a strong emphasis on making sure that we are giving our people the tools to be as resilient as possible, but recognising that the nature of policing is such that they are going to be exposed to things that they might need help to process and to deal with, and making sure we have those supports in place. We do a lot, but if I could spend money anywhere, additional money, then I'd be spending it on making sure that our wellbeing programs, our resilience programs, our mental health first aid training programs are contemporary, up to date, and easily accessible. Because I don't think we're entirely where we need to be, but I do acknowledge the people in these areas are working really hard to make sure we look after our people.
That's good. It's good to hear, because it is that challenging part around what is the right program to put into place, and then how do you measure it, how do you track it. Do you find that from a police officer perspective, the ability to put your hand up has changed and altered? Do you think it's been
definitely,
made easier?
definitely.
Yeah.
I've spoken about this myself in previous forum. The stigma around disclosing the fact that you need help as a result of mental health issues has changed dramatically. But once again, I think there's still much more we need to do. I wouldn't say that every person who works within the South Australian Police has the confidence that they're not going to be marginalised or penalised in some way because they reach out for help. So there's more work to be done, but I think we're in a much better place than we were probably even 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah. From my perspective, I think the last 5 years in the mental health world, we've seen quite dramatic changes around having peak bodies for mental health, having the strong lived experience voice, having sort of investments starting to look at alteration and change. I mean, we lose $180 billion every year of lost productivity to mental health, so we've still got a lot of investment to do. If you'd mentioned there, if you were to invest more into your staff team, you'd be looking more around that well-being. What is one of those sort of one focal areas you'd really love to drill into?
Well, I think it's about providing our frontline supervisors the capability to properly support their people and recognise some of the indicators when someone might actually need to be referred for proper assistance. Now we did roll out the mental health first aid training a few years ago, and every frontline supervisor participated in that. But that's a good step, but you can't do it as a one-off drenching exercise. It's got to be, you've got to maintain that level of capability for those people who are looking after our most important assets.
And it is that part of it, isn't it, about it being an ongoing investment and an ongoing sort of program.
Absolutely. It's we don't have the ability to make sure that every single employee has access to our employee assistance section as they need it. So being able to refer people to the right resources is critically important, and that's where our sergeants, senior sergeants, frontline commissioned officers, that's where their role becomes more important, I think, is making sure they know what they're doing so they can look after our people and get them the help they need when they need it. And not wait for the sort of the wall to come crumbling down before we reach in. More proactive. And
I think that early intervention piece is vital, isn't it? Because as you say, what often happens is we hold it, and then the wall does collapse.
And then the recovery process is much more difficult and takes a lot longer. So getting in early is the way to go.
That's good. Grant, you're a member of the Breakthrough Board. You're also on the board for Operation Flinders.
Operation Flinders Foundation,
which is a foundation that's we've got a great deal of respect for David and his team. They do some beautiful work in the programs there. Why were they sort of two of the connections for you? Why was that important for you?
Well, to start with, mental health Breakthrough Foundation. That's it's so relevant to what we're trying to do in South Australian Police. We've got an organisation with a workforce of just over 6,000 people, and I don't think I have to convince anybody that, as I said before, police officers are exposed to so many difficult scenarios, traumatic events, as vicarious trauma and dealing with victims of crime. So many challenging issues that we need to make sure that we are as contemporary as possible in looking after our people, and that's exactly what Mental Health Breakthrough Foundation is doing. It's just for me, it's a natural fit. So I was pleased to be invited onto the board, and I'm keen to do as much as I can to make a positive contribution in that space. Operation Flinders. Historically, police officers have been heavily involved in Operation Flinders Foundation, and we're dealing with young people who are at risk of maybe taking the wrong path in life. Op Flinders, I think, provides that opportunity for these young people to understand themselves a bit better, develop some self-awareness, some resilience, and give them alternatives in terms of what their future might look like. So the best best way to reduce crime is to prevent people from becoming involved in crime.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about at-risk kids who might make the wrong choices, then why wouldn't you invest in trying to put them on a pathway that is better for them and better for the community?
So have you done a number of the camps? Or have you been there yet?
I've been up to the property
Yeah.
once. I've only been on the board. I think it's coming up 2 years now.
Right.
It's logistically a challenge to
yes,
sneak away from work for 2 or 3 days to get up there.
Yeah.
But it's just fantastic to see the kids out on the exercise. But equally as important is just the commitment and dedication of the volunteers who make it possible for these kids to go through the program. It's just it's quite impressive to see these people who just selflessly give their time to make sure these kids have an opportunity to be the best they can.
Yeah, it's a beautiful program. I've been to a number of events where they've been sharing some of the stories and some of the sort of inspirational stories when you listen to some of the young people who are very, very honest and saying things weren't going right in my life and this changed it. You know?
Yeah, and we often think about programs like this being delivered to children who are probably dealing with the very worst set of circumstances. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's kids who are, just need that additional support to make the right choices in life. And we've got people who are now police officers who went through Op Flinders, so
right.
I think that's a fair validation that it's doing something right.
It's a great validation, isn't it? Yeah. The challenge has been around just having a conversation.
Yeah.
Have you found, within your own family and talking to the boys, that's shifted, that's changed?
I think it has. I think the particularly younger people, I think they're more willing to talk about how they're feeling. And it's not just girls, it's boys as well. I've got sons and a daughter, and we've had those conversations. And I don't feel like there's any barrier that has to be broken through before you start talking about these sorts of things. So I'd like to think that's indicative of how younger people have that willingness to speak up.
Yeah, and I think it is interesting. My daughter's 26 now, and I look at the way in which she communicates with us and communicates with her friends. It's so much more articulate than my age, your age, maybe with our parents. And
I think so.
The honesty they actually share. So I think we're all constantly learning. We've got some. Going to be a really beautiful activation that's taking place, Step to the Line.
Yes.
We do this out in the community, and we've done it in some incredible places. We've done it in the middle of a football oval at one place. We did it in the middle of a winery, stood next to the vines at another place. We did it in Mantung on a lean-to of a shed, and there was nothing else there in the middle of nowhere. And you're sort of getting sort of 40, 50 men standing opposite each other, which is a little bit threatening at times, and there's a little bit of giggling. There's usually a couple of cans of beer in people's hands as they're just wondering what's going to happen. What we find very, very powerful is how quick people engage in it. A lot of people have said to us, would that not be confronting? And it's supposed to be confronting, because we're asking people to be a little bit honest and to drop their guard. One of the most powerful ones I saw was over in Clare, and we had a guy who just every time we make a statement, he just kept stepping in. And he was talking about vulnerability, loneliness, isolation, etc. And he stepped in 6 separate times, and he just said, "I'm just going to stay here because you're talking about me." And the man opposite stepped in with him and said, "I'll keep you company then, mate."
I think that says something about breakthrough, because men historically won't do that sort of thing unless there's a level of trust. So it's about the way you conduct that, I think, is a very positive indicator that people have a regard for what breakthrough is doing and the way it's being done.
Thank you for that. It feels a bit of an honour when you get to do it. So, we have four facilitators that are involved in the day, and all having different sort of roles. And so we don't. When people are sharing that with us, we don't take it for granted.
If you do it in McLaren Vale again, you should call it Step to the Line instead of Step to the
Wine. We might not get them back. Also on the night then, we've got Magic Mike, the magician. Have you seen Mike before?
No, I haven't
seen him before.
No.
So he's a beautiful guy, and we got the honour of meeting him. I saw him do his audition on Australia's Got Talent. It was one of the most powerful things I've ever seen. And it's just one of those things where I just sent him a message just saying, are you okay? Because, he just shared something very, very personal. And he replied within, minutes. I got a reply back going, yeah, I'm in a good place, and thanks for reaching out. And we sort of connected. And last year we did something very different. We did a presentation together. He did his magic and I did the mental health magic, and we presented to Parliament, which was really an interesting opportunity for Mike to do some magic in Parliament. I mean, obviously there's a lot of card playing takes place in that in government as it is, but the way in which he engaged, sleight of hand, definitely. There's a few cards under the table, I think. The way in which he engages and tells his story is very, very powerful, and he's going to be sharing it again, which takes a level of vulnerability to open yourself up all that time and keep reliving something. But he's doing it for a reason. He's a big ambassador also for Lifeline now, and doing some work for them. So it's great that we're going to have this blend of different things on the night. Last couple of questions in regards to the health piece for you. If you were to tell a 15-year-old Grant some of your words of wisdom that you've learnt in the previous 42 years, what would those little snippets be?
Well, I think the opening piece of advice would be to apply yourself more in school. It's ironic that I've ended up in this position when I was probably calling me an adequate student would have been an exaggeration.
Right.
Look, I find that really difficult to answer because I'm sort of trying to put 15-year-old Grant in. It would have to be in today's environment, because to go back and provide advice to a young person from when I was 15,
which is very different.
It's a very different time. It's a hard one to answer. I think I'd be telling young Grant to stay close with your close friends, and just be prepared to talk to your mates. Not just about how you're travelling, but make sure you're actually checking in on them as well. Don't take it for granted that people are doing okay. We all have levels of complexity in our lives that are not apparent on the surface. You don't know what people are going through, so be genuine in your inquiry as to how your mates are going, but don't assume that everything's right.
That's good.
Don't judge people based on your perceptions, because you just don't know what their story is.
Yesterday we went out for a drive, and my wife interviewed me, and it's interesting. She asked me the same question, and it was a very similar answer, because I was John's a really nice student. Do we concentrate a bit more? I was your C+ guy. I was just everything was C+, and only as I went into my nursing and did my social, they were the first times when I really started to excel, because they were the things I'd chosen to do.
Well, that's my story too. I stumbled into the police academy, but once I was there, that sense of purpose really kicked in, and I had no problem with the academic side. It was easy. Once you've chosen it, it's for you, isn't it? And I had the same thing around friendships. I've still got my closest friend I've known since I was 2. We met at nursery, and the importance of trying to keep in touch. And he still lives in the UK, and we haven't texted for a bit, so I'll send a message tonight. Last question for you then. This is based on your carpool karaoke, Grant. I'm not going to ask you to sing in the car, unless you wanted to. It's
obviously.
better for everyone if I don't.
But if you did have a song that's either yours and Emma's song when you're on road trips, or it's yours when you're in the shower, or it's yours when you just want to offload, what's your go-to?
Well, there are occasions, given the functions that I attend in my formal role, and it's quite often at functions within the Chinese community, the karaoke does come out. And sometimes it's easier just to do it than it is to resist the invitation. So my go-to song is The Gambler.
The Gambler.
It's I don't think you have to be a terribly good singer to get through it.
Right, so you get away with it.
Yeah.
Is it one of those ones where it's more of a talking of a song?
Oh no, there's a little bit of a tune there, but if you know how to smother the microphone, people you don't offend people's ears.
Cool. That sounds really good. I have 2. My family are big karaoke singers. It's Irish Catholics, and So I have a bit of Davy Gray, Babylon.
Oh yeah.
And then I do like Beautiful South, Everybody's Talking at Me, which is quite ironic in my career.
And yeah, well, absolutely it is. Yeah, you would have thought I would have chosen something by the Police.
You should have done, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so we've missed out on that one. You could add that one in later.
Yeah.
Grant, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate that in your busy schedule to take out half an hour to come out for a drive. And
thanks,
I
John.
only broke the regulations once with my hand, so
Yeah.
I'll be expecting that ticket from you later.
We'd call that an official warning.
Okay, I'll take that as the warning.
Once you get out of the bike lane.
I'm not going to go into it. See, I knew I should never come out with you. The next time we're going out, we're going for a walk.
Yeah.
So
Might be safer for everyone.
for everybody.